I did want to speak to the milling question, because it's something that gets a lot of people. I was a little snappy at you, Cavalier, but I didn't mean anything by it. I was just trying to be funny. Your attitude is not uncommon. And I would like to help you overcome that. So I'm just catching up in chat a little bit here. So Cavalier said, Vulture, which self-mills for 4, really doesn't seem worth it to me in Limited. Seems risky to mill your bombs. First, let's start there. Milling is neutral. Like, let's say no player in the game has anything that interacts with the graveyard. Like, basically, think of it in this game, the graveyard is just another exile zone. Nobody interacts with the graveyard at all. The only way at that point that the mill 4 even matters is if you lose the game by milling. So in that world, the self-mill from the Vulture is a downside because it does increase your chance of losing the game to milling, but that's literally its only downside. So if there is no graveyard interactions and the game is not going to end by milling, then milling is EV0. It's neutral. It is neither good nor bad relative to your bomb situation to mill. And that's a really important thing to internalize and understand if you want to increase your skill as a Magic player, and that's where your head's at right now. Because your head will mess with you, and if you get all psychologically caught up in how it feels bad to mill something into your graveyard, you're going to be making Magic mistakes, because it is often correct to make a play that self-mills you, and sometimes you're going to see a card you love go into your yard, and if you let that result prevent you from making the correct self-mill play in the future, you're going to lower your win percentage, all to preserve your precious feelings about seeing a good card go into your graveyard when milling. So you got to get over that, or you're costing yourself EV as a Magic player. And then, so that's just showing that basically that milling is neutral, like that when it doesn't matter at all, milling is neutral. Now take a look at what we've got going on. We've got Soul Salvage for one thing. That's actually the main thing in our deck, right? Is Soul Salvage. But anything that any set that's going to have some graveyard recursion, and if you are Grave Digger, that kind of thing, then self-milling becomes a legitimate benefit. It becomes another place where you are generating resources that you can take advantage of. So even though, Cavalier, it feels really crappy to self-mill and watch your favorite best card in the deck go into the yard, don't let that affect your future decisions. You are just as likely to mill away the 4 cards that were in the way of you drawing that card, and you get to fist pump as you pull it off the top on the next turn, right? So I've been hammering on this point from the very early days of LR. There's an early episode called Bringing Home the Loot that basically says exactly this. So just want, whenever that comes up, whenever someone's afraid of the self-mill, I want to make sure that we cover that. Yes, if there's no graveyard interaction and the game is not going to end by milling, by empty library, then milling is just re-randomizing the deck.